Barnett.
Oh, I have
All right, so I will call the combined special and regular meetings of trustees of the Tulsa Airports Improvement Trust and the members of the Tulsa Airport Authority to order. The first item of business is approval of the minutes of December 8th. Have a motion?
Move approval.
All in favor say aye. Opposed no. Motion carried.
Did I get an agenda?
I
I mean, I know it's a little late. All right. Yep.
Alexis, business plan recap.
Yeah, so, you know, as I was preparing for this meeting, I thought you guys don't want to hear me talking for 25 minutes. And so I'm not going to do that today, even though I have a lot of, you know, wonderful things
And if anybody wants to hear the full version, they can call you.
Yeah, come up and have coffee with me. I'm happy to talk. We do have our annual report posted on our website. But it is important to me just to circle back on some of the work that this team has done, some of them who are in this room today, and many of them who are out working in the field. But we have a great team here at the airport, and we were very busy last year. And there's a lot of work behind the scenes that keeps the airport operational and supports passenger traffic and aircraft activity. And so I just wanted to highlight a few of the big wins. Of course, the big news for us is that we returned to 2019 passenger levels. And a lot of that is because of the work that Andrew has done to secure additional air service. Our seat capacity, which is our metric of supply in the marketplace, returned to 2019 levels in June. Our passenger activity returned to 2019 levels in September and October. And we were actually exceeding numbers that we hadn't seen since 2007. And so as far as passenger activity goes, things were really well in 2022. I'm going to just quickly go through these. Of course, those were our key priorities. One of the things that we committed to this year was focusing on employee development. We know that investing in our employees that are here with us today, that are committed to our mission, ensure the long-term success of our organization. We launched an employee training program, and our goal was to have 10% of our employees participate in this employee exchange program, and we had 21%. We are continuing to identify development opportunities with our team when we meet twice a year with every team member. And our managers and supervisors are now focused on providing opportunities for those team members to get training, whether that's here, whether that's at tech programs in our community or industry programs across the United States. And I think we've seen a lot of great progress because we launched the Gallup program last year, the Gallup Q12 Employee Engagement Survey. And our engagement increased. Our baseline number was 4.09. In August, when we did another survey, it went up to 4.21. And when you look at Gallup, we were at the 50th percentile out of the thousands of companies that participate in that survey. And we moved up to the 60th percentile. And our goal over the next couple of years is to get to the top quartile, so to the 75th percentile and above. And so we're taking the steps and we're investing in the things that are important to our employees. And we're seeing us move that needle. And so I'm extremely proud of that. There are a few other things. I mentioned the air service stuff. Our passenger activity was up 27% over 2021. Our revenues for retail was up 23%. Restaurant revenue was up 56%. We signed a churro agreement, which it's big for our industry. And the fact that we were the first airport in the state of Oklahoma to sign it, and now other airports are modeling it after our program, I think, again, just demonstrates the fact that our team's committed to finding solutions that generate revenue and support our customers. So we had the rating agency increases. Both rating agencies increased our rating last year, again, signifying their faith in our team's ability to manage our financial position. Our passenger survey rankings last year went from 8.9 the year before to 9.3. We had 19 initiatives led by employee resource groups last year, ranging from participating in the Martin Luther King Day Parade, which is the first time we had ever done that, to focusing on employee benefits and determining how we can make improvements to the benefits that we offer to our team. And one of the things that I just wanted to mention, which is something nobody ever thinks about, and that's trash. Because Brian and his team were tasked with really focusing on recyclable materials and how can we divert more of our trash into recycling instead of a landfill or to the waste to energy plant. And we increased our recycling materials by 39.4%. We diverted 80 more tons of trash to recycling than we had the year before. And that's significant. And that's something that we're going to continue to do. And then finally, a metric that's important to me, and I think that's because of my background working with disadvantaged businesses, is that we increased our utilization of minority and veteran-owned businesses. Our goal was to go from 1.8 to 4%. We went from 1.8 to 5.7%. And then what we learned is our janitorial contractor is a minority-owned business. Even though they're an LLC, they are a minority-owned business. So when you include that, that's 10.9% of our purchases are made with minority or veteran-owned businesses. Great. So we're going to continue to just make sure companies are aware of our contracting opportunities. That's kind of, I think, the key opportunity is that people are aware of them. But 2022 was a great year. I'm not going to go through all of these different goals because there were a lot, but I would encourage you and people who may be watching our YouTube meeting, our YouTube channel, to go to our website and look at our year in review document because it nicely summarizes many of those accomplishments.
Right. And there's a lot of projects that will roll over into next year that are pretty monumental.
Yes.
So, I mean, we've, just to highlight some of, we've made great progress on the tower funding. We made great progress on Riverside. And so, yeah, I would encourage everybody to kind of look at that.
Yeah.
That those are ongoing projects and maybe one of the biggest highlight is just our inspections and what have you, and just how well outside people coming in looking at the airport have rated us. Certainly the bond is one thing, but everything else too. So my hat is off to you, Alexis, and your team and everybody that's a part of it. It's something to be very proud of for all of the city and region that we have a great operation like we do. So,
well, thank you.
Yeah,
we enjoy what we do, and I hope you can tell that we all are bought in. For 2023, we've identified 67 priorities across all of our different divisions, and all of them are within three main buckets: sustainability. And when we talk about sustainability, we're talking about organizational sustainability. We have people who've worked here for 30, 40 years that have a lot of knowledge about the airport. What we're going to do over the next year is transfer that knowledge into processes and procedures so that when the next generation of workers come in, they'll be able to go to a document and reference, how do I do this? How do we track cyber? How do we track operations? If an operations agent comes to work, here are the list of things that they have to do that's included in their job, just to provide that organizational continuity if there's a massive disruption to our workforce. We are standardizing all of how we maintain policies and procedures. Right now, they're scattered throughout the organization. We're going to create one centralized location for all of those. We're going to standardize them and be formatted. I mean, it's a big project that will take us a whole year to complete. We're looking at environmental sustainability and continuing our commitment to the scorecard program through Sustainable Tulsa. We will be submitting for the first time our full packet in March to them for evaluation to see how we're doing and what are some areas we can improve on. We are going to continue to focus on employee investments and development, employee training, and looking at how we protect our cyber assets in particular. Everything at this airport is connected in some way to some system, whether it's a jet bridge, whether it's the airfield lighting, all of those are connected, and we need to make sure that we are prepared for some future disruption. We also are looking at how we're going to transform airport facilities and those things that you mentioned, the tower. We will complete design of the tower next year, or this year, 2023, and go out for bid hopefully by the end of the year. The customs facility, we should have the design complete by the end of June, beginning of July, and go out to bid next fall. Those are transformational projects that are going to change the opportunities that are available to us in our community, and then we'll go after, you know, international service, whether that's Mexico or beyond in the future. And then looking at UAS technology, we have a member of our team, Austin Wheeler, down at Riverside Airport, who's looking at these electric vehicles that are in design and production and determining how we can plan for that as an airport. Where is the charging infrastructure going to come to be able to support that at Tulsa International and at Riverside Airport, because they're going to be at both airports. And then just looking at in terms of how are we going to continue to make decisions that introduce young people to aviation career, because we hear from our industry counterparts, our tenants, that that's their biggest obstacle. And so we feel, being at the airport and the central hub of where all of these businesses, or many of them, are located, that we have a role to play in inspiring future generations of workers. And so we're partnering with school districts that have STEM or aviation programs in place to bring those students here and provide them opportunities. And then the Met School is specifically listed. The Met School is just down the street from us. I didn't even know it was there until about 3 months ago. And they provide alternative high school education for students from 6th through 12th grade. And those 12th graders need an internship opportunity. And so we're partnering with them to provide 2 days a week an internship location for some of their high school students to come over here and learn about career opportunities. So all of that goes into our plan for next year. We're going to be busy. It's going to be exciting. We've committed to try to grow passenger traffic by 5%, which is a big ask considering where we are right now. Our seat capacity, right, Andrew? But I think we'll get there. And so appreciate you guys providing input on the goals for this year. Every team member had a role in developing the goals for their divisions, and we're ready. We're already started. And so this business plan also is available on our website for people to review and contact us if they have any questions or would like clarification.
Okay. So. Any questions or comments?
Very good. I echo the chairman's view. You guys have done an excellent job. You're all of them. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Fabio?
Okay.
Financial.
So we are currently through 5 months of our fiscal year reported. Looking at the numbers, we are actually in a really strong position. We're 11% stronger in our revenues than we were in November of 21 and 17% greater than fiscal year to date 22. Our operating expenses, plagued by the inflation and cost of doing business, up 12% with a 14% gain over last fiscal year. But we still have a healthy net operating income before depreciation, 19% greater than previous fiscal year. Food and beverage continue to do well, 30% up and 37% up, with just about a $850,000 gain from previous fiscal year to date. Retail holding strong at 11% for the fiscal year to date. That is about just under $300,000 greater revenue generated. Parking activity doing well. Our activity numbers are the ticket pulls, the vehicle counts, 15% greater in November of this year over last, and 19% greater. That's about 30,000 more tickets and vehicles that have utilized our facilities at TUL. Our revenue up 42% for the fiscal year to date, a gain of just a little over $1.7 million. And our ground transportation, we did add Turo, as Alexis mentioned. They came on board in September. We have 3 months of recorded activity, doing about 55% greater in November and 45% greater fiscal year to date, with revenues generated about $48,000, just under $49,000 more. Transaction days for November over November 21, 4% gain with a 13% increase. That's about 38,262 more transaction days in this fiscal year to date than prior. And our operations at RVS, they were down for the month. Talking with Austin, there was fog, there was weather issues that prevented a lot of the flight schools from operating, but overall still 12% higher than previous fiscal year. And our fuel flows really didn't miss a beat, 3% strong across the board from month over month to fiscal year to date. We've sold about 21,733 more gallons of fuel at RVS this fiscal year than prior. And plane passengers, 13% up, 18% for the fiscal year to date, about 103,819 more passengers utilizing TUL. And it's important to note that November is the best November we've had since 2018, and we're just shy of 2018 by about 2,500 passengers or so. And plane cargo up 10% for the month and 4% for the fiscal year to date, with about 1 million more pounds of cargo. Looking at our revenues, just comparing our fiscal year to date activity, this is pretty much our strongest fiscal year to date activity for the first 5 months and the years measured here. We're clocking at about $20.7 million, significantly higher than where we were in in 2019 fiscal year to date and 2020 fiscal year to date. But a strong trajectory following that seasonal peaks and valleys that we have in our calendar year. Looking at our expenses, kind of intersecting at various points, hitting peaks and valleys. Just October was a little lighter than previous October of 2020, but right about where we've been hugging that line for the last 3 months of where we were with fiscal year 2020 pre-pandemic activities. Again, our air service employments for the fiscal year to date, strong seasonal trend, really coming close to breaking July's numbers, and then August, September, October, November, really kind of hugging that line, and then September through November exceeding our activities from the prior fiscal years or calendar years. Looking at our budget to actual, really strong numbers here. We've really hit the ground running. Our passenger activity has generated all of the parking activity increases. We did have the fee increase that we did account for in our budget, but the real driver there's just the number of vehicles utilizing our facility. We're about 35% stronger than we thought we'd be in our fiscal year to date activity, about $2.2 million more. That makes up the bulk of our $3.1 million excess of that 18%, followed by passenger carrier revenues and our CFC fees, making up that miscellaneous revenues. Operating expenses, really close to where we were anticipated we'd be, slightly below in our salaries, slightly below in our materials, and our services right about where we thought we'd be this year. Still overall 4% lower, about a $438,000 decrease from budget, and our net going towards our capital purchases and our debt service, about $3.6 million greater than we anticipated. So really strong financial position for the first 5 months of the year. Comparing where we were in a much more detailed than the first slide, $2.9 million greater. The real driver here of that budget, the fiscal year to date over fiscal year to date is the parking revenue. We have an excess of $2.9 million. 2.2 of that is parking, followed by the CFC fees and our passenger carrier activity, really making up that difference. And then our salaries, benefits, materials and services, about 14% greater, 1.3 million, but still a $1.6 million excess from where we were this time last fiscal year. So still in a strong position, even though the inflationary costs are higher. And my final slide is just our days of cash on hand through December 2022. This is 6 months of our fiscal year. We're at a burn rate of about 332 days of cash on hand, 26.9 million liquid days of cash, covering 6 months of our debt service. We have just a little over a month of debt service in our reserves. So again, strong fiscal position for the first 5 to 6 months of our fiscal year. Any questions?
Questions? Great, praise the Lord.
If I could just really quickly say that this is Fabio's last meeting. So he's officially complete with his duties for TAIT today. And we've enjoyed, I know I've had several of you tell me over the years that you've really enjoyed Fabio's approach and the way he presents the information.
Yeah.
And just wanted to thank Fabio for his service to the airport and the work to help us get those rating agency increases and lead the finance team. Finance, vehicle maintenance, parking, asset management, all of those were under his leadership. And so just didn't want that moment to pass us by without acknowledging his contributions.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been
It's
great.
been a pleasure serving the airport and working with the team here.
Great. We wouldn't be here without you, so
Yeah.
thank you. Administrative finance, got a small community air service.
Yes, so item number 1 is to approve amendment number 1 to the Small Community Air Service Development Grant Program, or SCASD grant, between TAIT and the U.S. Department of Transportation in order to extend the term of the grant for 1 year, effective January 6, 2023. The original SCASD grant was awarded in 2018 for 5 years. We applied for a year extension. The Department of Transportation is being pretty lenient right now. Obviously we went through COVID. Now the airlines are facing pilot issues and aircraft issues. So we've made good progress with our efforts to try and use this grant towards getting Seattle service. So we were awarded the extra year, and
You're working on it.
we'll keep working hard at it. So
Okay,
fingers crossed.
have a motion.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Number 2.
All right, approved purchase from Bill Knight Ford for one Ford Transit 250 cargo van in amount not to exceed $53,954. This was over our 2023 capital purchase budget in amount of $50,000 by $3,954. It's going to replace a 2010 transit van that we use for our technology team.
Okay. Motion.
Move approval of item 2.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Concession services agreement.
All right, so I'm taking this one,
Oh.
at least to start with, but I might need some help. So 3 is to approve a concession services agreement for 1 year with Skylixer to provide taxi cab driver access to a web application, allowing drivers to enter a virtual queue system. And then we will pay Skylixer 3% of fees net of credit card charges. And then 4 is related to this as well, because 4, we're going to amend the ground transportation policy to accommodate new virtual queuing. And I want to take you back to the taxi cab stand. We have a picture of it here for you. The way taxi cabs currently operate at the airport, they come in, they pay their $2 fee, and they park in the staging area and wait. And there was a camera, or is a camera, that shows down onto the curb on the arrivals roadway where taxis queue up on the arrivals roadway. And so when they would see that there weren't cabs there, then they would leave the queue and go up to the curb. What we were looking for was an alternative for that uses technology that not only improves the availability of cabs at the airport, but also improves the taxi cab driver ability to have more flexibility. They don't have to sit here and wait for a call. They can be in an automated queuing system and see when there's a need for additional cabs, and then enter the queue when they're 10 minutes away before they come to the airport. And this company, the agreement's with Skylixer, but it's with a company named Undelay, and Safir, I think, is here. Hi, Safir.
Hello.
And Brendan. So Safir approached the airport last year, I think it was in March of last year, about a completely different technology solution. And we talked about it. It was more airside ramp based. And I said, I just don't know that this is really applicable for us at this airport, but here's our need. And so he listened to our challenges, and him and his team came up with the solution. And we're very excited about it. And here are a couple of their slides. I stole a couple of your slides for this presentation. But they basically set up a geofence around the arrivals roadway, so that when taxi cabs enter the queue, it shows that they're parked at the queue, and then when they leave, it shows that they've left. And that's how the system lets other drivers know when there's a need for this queuing service here at the airport. They've tested it. I want to say that too, because it's taken several iterations, and Safir and his team have worked with Cole and Tim to come out and test the program. And they learned that not every cell phone provider has the same geolocation information. And so they've adapted the programming to make it work for all of the different providers. They've done a lot of trial and error to get this right. But cab drivers will log in, they'll have an account, they'll pay $20, or they can pay $100, however much they want. And then each time that they take or enter the queue, they're charged $2. And then TAIT will be paid that amount on a monthly basis. Basically, so we continue to receive our revenue, but it automates the process for our drivers, and it automates the accounting of the process. Our landside agents will have access to a screen, so they'll be up at the curb and can validate that the drivers at the curb have paid the fee. That was the key part. We wanted to be able to audit it. The drivers always will be able to log in and see what their balances are. Our finance team will be able to log in and audit the books as well. But it's a new technology solution that no other airport in the country has today. But I have a feeling once we launch it and prove it, that this will be utilized at airports across the country. So I want to give credit to Safir and his team for working through the kinks with us, because it took us a couple of months to get here, and then just our landside team for working with us to find a solution and sell it to the cab drivers. Because, you know, that's an important piece of it. The cab drivers have to be on board, and I think that they see the value of it as well, because it does give them more flexibility. What have I forgotten?
I think you covered everything.
Okay.
Where are you in the testing?
So they have tested it multiple times. What we are doing is we would like to do a soft rollout. So for the next couple of weeks, have the cab drivers register, use the system, and we're not going to charge them for a couple of weeks.
Okay.
And then effective February 1st, we'll actually turn it on and they'll begin to be charged. But we want to have a ramp up period to give everybody time to get registered. I don't foresee that that's going to be an issue. But you know, we want to build in some time and some flexibility. And that's the reason why when Jeff made the changes to the ground transportation policy, he noted that we're going to have this temporary solution in place, but we will be coming back to you next month to adopt the final rule for the ground transportation policy. So we want to approve item number 3, and then we want to.
We don't even need to make a motion for
number 4.
For number 4, yeah. We just need to receive.
So, is there a maximum number of cabs that we would have in queue at any given time? And then once they leave the geofence, so
we only
the number coming in, and then they monitor it going out, and
we only allow 3 cabs to stage up on the curb at a time.
Right.
And the system will dispatch a cab to the roadway, to the arrivals roadway, as soon as one leaves.
Okay.
If you don't come in within 10 minutes, you lose your reservation.
Right.
So, did you already say that?
No.
Okay.
yeah, that was in
Okay.
there, so I think so. Or it's in the policy that you're going
Can I ask a question?
to have, yeah.
Can you just briefly tell us, I mean, this was a really old fashioned process, right? Can you tell us exactly what we're replacing?
Right. So, well, it's changed over the years. Today, there's a kiosk set up at the cab stand where each time they enter, they pay the $2. And then Laz tracks that for us and reports to us on a monthly basis. The drivers then have to show a ticket when they are up at the curb. If a landside agent approaches them, they have a timestamp ticket, which shows that they've paid their fee. So it's certainly upgrading the system, not only from an accounting and auditing perspective, but also from a usability standpoint.
It's almost like a toll tag. When they come into the geo, it automatically, and they're paying the $20 and that is deducted, and then they have to refurbish that or replenish that
Right.
amount.
Right.
So it's all automatic. They don't have paper. We've got an app for that now.
It's web-based, yeah, so.
And they don't have to sit at the airport
They
for
don't.
hours.
Right, right. So they're general, and given the proximity of the airport to downtown to different places. I mean, I think there's a number of things you could kind of work on going further from here. And we're still beta testing or ready to roll this out, but landings. I mean, we have a good idea how many passengers are coming in and what percentage of that is. So, you know, as you go further, you can almost be a little more proactive on having more cars here.
Well, so you're correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the web portal does provide flight information, so drivers can see when there are flights coming in.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I hadn't actually looked at it, but yeah, so that would be good. What about others besides cab?
For
Ubers and.
So Uber and Lyft and Turo all self-report based on their own geofences. Now, as part of their contract, we established their geofence boundaries.
Right.
One of our goals for 2023 is to identify a new tracking system for ground transportation operators. So for hotel shuttles, any of the commercial operators that currently have a permit, but we don't track the frequency of their visits.
Right. Okay. Well, I think, you know, automation is great. Like you said about the FAA, we're all interconnected.
Yeah.
But having it web-based and getting rid of little paper tickets and it's automatic makes a lot of sense. So thank you guys.
No problem.
You all have anything to say or?
Well, I want to say thank you for the team and especially the team we were working with and everyone here for working with us. I mean, as a small company, it's extremely difficult to just get into a room with executives like yourself. So we've had a great time working with you all, and we're excited to work with you in the future.
Good deal. Well, thank you. Yeah.
How secure do you think you are on this? Is this linked within our system?
So we have no direct links within your system. So we're very secure. So we've taken a lot of precautions to implement different registration codes, security codes, as well as geofencing sign-ups for different places to make sure that our system is well. So a lot of different areas under the.
Well, if it's separate, then it can't.
No.
It's not over there, somebody hacked it into here. That was my.
Right.
It does not route through our firewall.
Right. Okay. So we need to approve the concession services agreement.
Item 3, moving.
Okay.
Item 3, second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Number 5.
Number 5 is to approve a waiver of section 4 of TAIT's rules and order of business to allow approval of agenda item number 6 below without the requirement of a second meeting to approve a policy change. The waiver is allowed under the current rules.
Right. And number 6 below is the trustees meeting rules.
Right.
So
we can have a
So
We can have a
if
motion.
we can have a motion for the waiver. I think those have all been sent out, but, we can have a approval of the waiver number 5.
Move approval, item 5.
Second, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Number 6 is consider and approve Tulsa Airport Improvement Trust trustees meeting rules and order of business effective immediately upon approval. You know, these rules were written in 2006. We rarely have a need to refer to these rules because what we're doing here is kind of old hat. I was joking with Alexis yesterday that there were kind of mythological rules.
Right.
But we do have them, and when we have questions about how we do things at the airport from Paul and Alexis, and I go, well, it's because we have rules, and
Right.
And that's the way we do them. But we've rewritten them. The 2006 rules were largely unworkable. I mean, it was just rules from a time era before.
Yeah, they were. That was the last time they were approved, but I think they went back to the 50s. I mean,
maybe
when you read them.
Yeah, when you're
I think there's. I mean, the 2 biggest things I saw in there that were changing is there were actually ways you could get around not having majority of the board vote on something.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a parliamentary kind of procedure, but I mean, you could get it where it was just a majority of the people in the meeting.
In the meeting room. Yes.
Yeah, which I don't think is what the purpose of the rules were.
Yeah.
So straightening that out, and then the other big deal is the policy.
Yeah.
Having to wait 2 meetings before a policy kicks in, I think is important. I mean, if there are problems with a policy change, you can always table it to the next meeting. So that is in place.
Right.
This just brings us up to date. And then we have one little bit in there about electronic meetings and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it's all based on state law and what is available on trust. So I know this was sent out to everybody. Does anybody have any questions or problems?
I did, but Alexis answered it. I just thought, did I miss a really rowdy meeting somewhere along the road?
Well, obviously there were some very rowdy meetings in the past.
There were.
And if they get rowdy again, we can, you can.
We will declare a sergeant at arms and.
Okay.
Ask a question.
Sure.
On 3C, majority vote of all the trustees is required for approval of anything. And is that of all the trustees in entirety or of the trustees present at the meeting?
That's a quorum. So if we have a quorum, they'll vote. And the majority of those will be a majority of the quorum.
Right.
Yes.
So it's of the trustees present.
Yes.
Not of the trustees, period.
Right.
Right.
Do we need to clarify that?
Yes, thank you.
In 3C?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So I would just offer an amendment.
No, I
Your
agree with you 100%.
motion on 3C that this being.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right.
Yeah.
That is a good change.
We run into that on the council a few times.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. With that amendment,
With that amendment, move it through.
actually, you accept the amendment.
I accept
Okay.
the amendment.
All right.
I approve the
All
amendment,
right.
and I'm in favor of it.
The amended, rules. All right. All in favor,
I
say
think I
aye.
got that, yeah.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Number 7.
All right, number 7, approve the following updates to the TAIT HR policy manual. So these are minimal changes with the exception of the new PTO policy, which I'll cover briefly. We are removing a progression system policy because it no longer applies to the way that we do business. the new PTO policy, we recognize that the talent out there today have diverse need for time off. And so we put together a benefits team that met to really address the market needs, what people are looking for in an employer. And one of that is flexible PTO time, paid time off. So combining vacation time and sick time, which is what we currently have for our current employees. Today, our current employees can accrue up to 1,200 hours of sick time and up to 400 hours of vacation time. So what this new PTO policy does is it allows for a maximum accrual of 200 hours, and it allows employees to accrue hours at a different rate than our current employees do, a little bit higher on a monthly basis. But it also encourages them to take the time off, which is important for their health and their mental state. You know, we want our employees to come to work. We want them to have time available to them, but we also want them to be able to use it in the way that they want to. And so we've put together this PTO policy, looking for your approval for this. And it's only in effect for new employees hired after January 1st of 2023. Our current employees prior to that January 1st, 2023, still remain on the existing plan today. So we're calling this phase 1, and we're assessing how this rollout is. I think Patty's had great success with recruiting new talent. We've had a few employees start since January, and they really, so far, have liked the PTO policy that we're on.
PTO has become standard, I think.
Yeah, when are you gonna merge the two?
So we've been talking about that and how we can do that in a fair way for the existing employees. I mean, it's a significant change for our existing employees, but it's something that we're going to discuss and look at for the next.
And the biggest problem is that they have a lot more accrued hours that are on the books that you would basically take those away if you combine them. Is that the main issue?
Right. Well, I mean, if for instance, I've been here 23 years, so I get 400 and something hours. I have 400 and something hours of vacation. I'm at the max of my accruals, right? When I think I'm at the max of my sick time accruals or close to it. And so, you know, any decisions we make, we want to think about those long tenured employees and make sure that anything that we do, we make our employees whole in the end. So whether or not that's providing phased transitions for existing employees, providing some form of payment for that accrued time off in a lump sum, those are all things that we'll be looking at to determine how we can best proceed. I think it's a liability for us to be able to have to carry all of that time. I mean, we pay all of that time out when an employee leaves, and that's a significant impact to our budget. And so it's just all of these factors, have to come into play when we're looking at making those decisions. And it's a hot topic, right? So we want to make sure we do it right. And that's why we decided, let's go ahead. I mean, it's kind of like the MERT pension plan. They drew a line in the sand and said, okay, we're going from rule of 80 to rule of 90. Well, that's what we're doing with our leave policy. We're saying, okay, January 1st, new hires, PTO. That way they don't know any different. And that, PTO is something that's very common today that they've probably encountered at other organizations.
Right.
But it's more complicated for our existing employees. Right. And so that's why we wanted to phase it.
Okay.
Yeah, makes sense.
Makes sense.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. I'll continue on with the rest of the changes. The holiday change, section 7.2, we're changing Friday after Thanksgiving, the day off, which is a day off, to the Native American Heritage Day. This is a federal holiday that was signed by President Obama in 2009. And an employee brought this to our attention about the name of this holiday, because it was important to them. We brought it to our employee resource group, who discussed it and felt that the change was needed. So we recommend approval for that. And then finally, updated airport police officer uniform allowance from $625 to $850 inclusive of shoe allowance and taxes. Recommend approval of these changes to our TAIT human resources policy manual.
Okay.
Move approval item 7.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. All right. Blue Cross Blue Shield.
All right, so I will ask for 8 and 9 to be considered together. For 8, approved contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield for the annual medical insurance coverage on an amount not to exceed $1,500,000 effective January 1. This amount, or estimated amount of the contract, is $1,382,913.64 and represents a 10.1% savings from the previous year plan. And it's dependent on our enrollment numbers. For 9, it is to approve contract with Blue Cross Blue Shield for dental insurance on an amount not to exceed $95,000 effective January 1st, 2023. This is a slight savings over the plan that we had last year with MetLife. The reason I want to consider them together is because we went to market for medical coverage in December, or late November, early December, and Blue Cross Blue Shield came to us with significant savings, but they told us that if we switched to their dental plan, they would give us an additional 30% or $30,000 savings on our medical plan. So that's wrapped into that 10.1% savings, and I recommend approval for both 8 and 9.
Okay. Questions?
Approval 8 and 9.
Okay. Have a motion second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried.
Item 10 is approved award of contract of professional engineering services to Garver LLC in an amount not to exceed $431,000 for the arc flash study phase 2 project. This contract provides funding to complete the power model and labeling of electrical panels in the terminal building, parking garage, and the airfield electrical vault. This is all in compliance with the National Electric Code, Occupational Safety and Health Administration, and the National Fire Protection Association. This is phase 2 of or second phase of 2 different projects. Phase 1 basically looked at all of the panels in these buildings and identified where they were, how they all tied together, and that developed a 1-line diagram. This project will complete that. We did not want to combine the 2 projects because we didn't know how many panels we had, and the consultant couldn't give us a price. So now we have identified we have about 500 panels in these 3 large buildings. They're going to go in, shut the power off to each individual panel, pull the cover off, identify the breakers, identify the cable size, identify the lengths of the cable if they can. They're going to put that information into a program or model that they have developed. That model will go through iterations of calculations and generate the risk of flash. In other words, you open that panel, if something goes wrong, there's going to be a flash. That will identify what type of protective equipment that person needs to have on. So if it does flash when they open, they are safe. This will all generate a label that will go on the front of the panel. That label will identify what protective gear they need to have. It's a very large project, something that we've had to do for quite some time, and we just unfortunately kept putting it off.
Yeah.
But management would recommend approval of item 10.
Some of these breakers have got to be very large and could be very dangerous.
Absolutely. If you remember several years ago, we had a breaker failure in the boiler room that took the building down for 5 or 6 days. That was a 1,500 amp breaker. Wow. Your home has your air conditioner is a 60 amp, for instance, or your electric range. This is a 1,500 amp. So absolutely, you open that panel and it flashes on you, you will fry. Needless to say.
Can I just add that our insurance companies are very concerned about this too. Yeah. So they're very happy.
Yeah.
They're giving us a discount.
All right, motion?
Move approval 11 10.
Second, thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Item 11 is approve amendment number 1 to professional design services agreement with Cohen Associates Incorporated in the amount of $26,776 for additional consulting services to the terminal access roads repair project. The amendment includes additional design services for an overhead sign structure and extending the turn lane that leads to the airport parking. Management recommends approval of 11.
What is the overhead sign structure?
Okay, if you come in the entrance road right now, you have signs that are over the roadway. You've got a column here, a column here, and it's a sign bridge. At the location of this turn lane, right now the shuttle buses come out of the lot and they have to merge almost immediately into traffic. What this project's going to do, or this portion of the project, it's going to extend that acceleration lane with the lane that you use to get into the parking area. If you look at it, there's a bridge, a sign bridge right there. And to extend that lane, we have to extend that bridge to carry the sign. So they are going to do the design of that sign as well as the additional design for that turn lane.
Makes sense. Okay.
Move approval item 11.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Number 12.
Item 12 is approved change order number 2 with Keith Construction Company LLC in the amount of $33,375 for the escalator replacement project phase 4. This is kind of in conjunction with 13, which is a separate project, but we have 2 projects that are very close to one another in the terminal building. It's the escalator on concourses and also the functional needs area. The contract identified that the contractor will remove the carpet in the area, and then the airport would provide carpet from stock, shelf stock, to replace, so it all matches. The thing is, the carpet that we have in stock has been discontinued. We have that carpet in a lot of areas in the terminal building, so if we need to repair some area of the terminal building carpet, we will take it from the stock. By providing the contractor with the stock material, we're going to run out of that material that is no longer being manufactured. So what we chose to do is have the last contractor, the one who's going to complete the project last, provide us a price to replace all of the carpet in this small area. And Will Keith identified the price of that as being $33,000, roughly $34,000 to be added to their contract to complete that carpet area. This change order brings the cost of the project up by 3.2%. Management recommends approval of item 12.
Okay. Motion?
The original contract was just for carpet, or was that?
No, sir. The original
Oh,
contract.
sorry, that's expensive carpet.
Very expensive. The original contract was the escalator replacement
Okay,
project.
that's what I thought. Okay,
Yeah.
move approval.
So then, yeah.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. So you got the same situation with the functional area. It's basically buying $4,300 worth of carpet, so we don't use the stock. Is that?
That is correct. But basically what we're doing in item 13 was a change order number 2 for Bronze Oak for the functional needs area. Their contract identified that when they remove the carpet, which they already did, and we provide carpet. So they had in their bid about $400 to install the carpet that we're going to provide them. And this change order number 2 for Bronze Oak is in the negative $400. Management recommends approval of 13.
Motion approval.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Item 14, I would like to withdraw. Item 15 is accept project and approve final payment to Adelaide Roofing Company Incorporated in the amount of $36,318 for the ticketing roof replacement project. This project had no change orders. Total cost of the project completed is $726,360. Management recommends approval of item 15.
Motion,
Move approval, item 15.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. 16.
Item 16 is accept project and approve final payment to Rosenbauer, Minnesota LLC in the amount of $787,317.96 for the ARF vehicle project. This project had 2.9% change orders. This is providing, of course, an ARF vehicle for one of the replacement outdated vehicles we have. Total cost of this project, $787,317.96. Management recommends approval of item 16.
Okay. Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Property development.
All right, item number 17 is to approve the short-term sublease agreement with Horton Hydraulics Incorporated, DBA Hydrosource, effective upon approval for a term expiring April 30th, 2023 in Cargo Building 1A.
Motion,
Move approval 17.
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. 18.
Item 18 is to approve the sublease agreement with Meyer Logistics Incorporated for 2 years, effective February 1st, 2023 in Cargo Building 3.
Move approval 18.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Item number 19 is to approve acknowledgement and consent to collateral assignment of sublease from TAIT Investments LLC to Legacy Bank and Trust, effective upon closing, but no later than January 31st, 2023 for the Hilton Garden.
Move approval, item 19.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Item number 20 is to approve assignment of sublease and acknowledgement and consent to assignment from David B. and Jennifer Brickwood Higgins to Russell Elliott as trustee of the Elliott Family Trust, dated August 29th, 2016, effective upon closing, but no later than January 31st, 2023 in the Northwest Hangar area at RBS.
Move approval item 20.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried.
We'd like to take items 21 through 24 together. Number 21 is to approve assignment of sublease and acknowledgement and consent to assignment from Susan Lance, as sole surviving co-trustee of the John R. Lance and Susan K. Lance Revocable Trust, dated April 18th, 2002, to Dan W. Howard as trustee of the Revocable Inter Vivos Trust of Dan W. Howard, dated December 13th, 2013. Effective upon closing, but no later than January 31st, 2023 in the Northwest Hangar development of RBS. Item 22 is to approve acknowledgement and collateral or consent to collateral assignment of the sublease agreement from Dan Howard Living Trust to Triad Bank, effective upon closing, but no later than January 31st, 2023. Item number 23 is to approve the mutual termination of sublease agreement with the Dan Howard Living Trust, effective February 1st, 2023. And item number 24 is to approve the sublease agreement with the Dan Howard Living Trust, 15 years with 2 5-year options to extend the term, effective February 1st, 2023. Again, lot 18, block 7A, and the Northeast Hangar development at RBS Hangar B, 3rd.
Okay. Motion to approve 21 through 24.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Number 25.
And number 25 is to approve the acknowledgement and consent to subtenant with Meridian Resources LLC for a new subtenant, Argyle Adventures LLC, effective upon closing, but no later than January 31st, 2023. Lot 15, block 6, Southwest Commercial Area, Meridian Resources, hangar number 10 at RBS.
Okay.
Move approval item 25.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. And we do need to go into executive session. So do I have a motion to go into executive session?
Move approval, go into executive session.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
We are out of executive session at 9:47 and no business was transacted during the
Yeah,
executive session.
so we need a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.